Good morning. My name is Sid Tobias. I'm from the EAO. I'm the Director of Digital Services. It's great to see all of the government fluffy unicorns in here. Steve, coupled with the brilliant minds at AOT that I've been working with a couple of years. I want to talk a little bit about the problem that I see it. At EAO right now, we're halfway through a project, and guess what? Our mandate just changed. Sound familiar? I think that is, and it's a significant mandate change. From the Premier's office, we need to streamline the way we work at EAO and make it better, faster, quicker. And halfway through a project, seeing a mandate coming a little while ago, that's why I got so much gray hair, is being able to pivot and understand things. One of the things we quickly realized is we got a problem. Our data is a problem. Okay, one of the problems that we encountered was our data wasn't in very good shape. And I think all of us around here, if you're working with a government database, realizes that your data sucks. Your data sucks, and there's no way to make it better easy. So what's the size of the problem? The size of our problem right now is 60,000 documents. Some of them are a page. Some of them were a page and were a scanned OCR file. And because you needed a signature back in the day, right, by the minister, in order to make it a real thing. So, and some of our documents are 500 pages long, very complex data sets in them. So running AI through it is a problem, and a significant one. So I want to introduce Saravan, wave. Andre, if you could put your hand up. Yeah. Great. So right now we've got an AI curious bunch at EAO, and like many government departments and many offices everywhere, they're finding their own uses for AI. Like, we don't have to tell them that AI is out there, they're already using it, and any way they can. So we're looking at ways that we can retrieve the key information across multiple projects. So when you think about every major mine or major thing going on, it's a significant amount of thing. And there's no one person with all the knowledge, right? People work on different projects. There's no subject matter expert that you can ask, can you compare these two projects that happened 10 years apart that were completely different? One was a tunnel and one was a mine, and give me some information about that? There's no ability to do that. Faster decision making, so quick access to relevant data that will enable informed choices. So what are our no-go-go areas for using AI? It is being explored now, and we're thankful for some higher government direction definitely on it. Information extraction, a lot of our work is taking a really big document and turning it into a summary so a minister can understand it, right? And within that, there's some complexities. How do you do that with First Nations values and opinions and other things that are associated with a major project? So expanding access to the public. We're not going to start there. We're going to start internally, being able to use our AI to generate trust in both our data and in the AI. But wouldn't it be great to be able to have something that the public, researchers, proponents, First Nations could go in and ask plain language questions to a database as vast as ours, that's arguably as important as ours. So complex navigation, as I said, we've got 60,000 documents. We've already used them to condense some work that Vineet helped us out from AOT and is still working on it in a condition repo. So as we go through, identify issues with a project, they get turned into conditions. Conditions are associated with management plans to mitigate the risk of that thing, whatever it is. So they've built a condition repo now. And I know Mines Digital Services, Rebecca, has done something similar with their permitting that allows us to look at the condition, right? And I can query that condition. Some of our problems were even starting off and knowing what condition was the right version of the condition that we needed to do. Now that's taken away. We always know the point of truth. So that in itself is a leap stone ahead. So finding the relevant data details for us in that massive data set is important, because that right now is taking weeks in order to do. Our insufficient search right now on Epic as our system of note is, if you're really lucky and you know everything about that document, you can queue a search out and maybe find a document associated with that project. And that's with a lot of experience and thinking like the documents were tagged. So knowledge barriers now, it takes a lot of time as you're onboarding new staff for your most knowledgeable staff to bring the new folks up to speed. So that takes your subject matter experts right off the board, right? Just to integrate new staff. Just think of a world where we could actually have a system that folks could tap into the knowledge that's in all of those documents to be able to ask plain language questions to it. And time consuming, like I said, it's a death by SharePoint. Slow cuts over many years of being able to try and find information. So yeah, I'll just skip through this a little bit, but these are some of our risks and rewards, kind of a balance. So kind of what is the potential inaccuracy, the cost of making a mistake, biases in data, particularly around something sensitive like First Nations concerns, integration complexity with our current infrastructure that we've got, data privacy concerns. So of all those 60,000 documents, is there aggregate privacy information that somebody could pull from that? Each document might not have it, but could you pull a picture off of somebody's profile if you queued all of the documents together? And coming from the military, that aggregate kind of concern is real, right? And over reliance risk, are we creating people that don't think, right? That have that critical lens on things. And of course the benefits, instant access for us, enhanced ability to search, and really use questions to ask better questions, right? I think that's the key right now, and just training some of our staff up and getting them used to what the heck is prompt engineering? You know, how important is that to be able to ask the right questions from your data? Automation efficiency, where else might it lead to us from where we're at right now, which is very manual? And providing our leadership with actionable insights. Things like engagements. Give me the Coles notes. How many people were for it? How many people were against it? Where do they live in relation to the project? You know, take away all the NGOs and give me the people that are living next to the mine, what their real concerns are, or the First Nations. So how can we use this to help us do that? And I think we got a demo.
Hey everyone, thanks Sid, that was excellent. My name is Saravan. I have been with AOT for the last 9 years, working on different government projects. I'm a principal architect. For the last 3 years, I have been working with EAO. We have two products which we have incorporated AI. The search one, that's a big one. I will have a demo for that. This one, condition repository, it deserves a special mention because that's where we started with. I don't have a demo for it. It's kind of a backend thing, but I'll explain what it is. So I'll explain the problem statement here. Conditions are like big things in EAO by which every project has a mandate. So all the conditions were in PDF documents again. Like the EAO didn't have a space to store them. Some teams store them in SharePoint, some team in a Notepad, like in multiple places. So we built an application around that. But again, the problem was that it was in 200 plus PDF documents. How do we get that into the system? Manual. It's error-prone, mundane work. Nobody likes it. You had to go through this 200 plus documents and input into the system. That's where we thought, why don't we use AI to process the documents, get it into the system. That was our first attempt. We didn't have a local LLM, we didn't have a cloud thing or anything like that. So we thought like, why don't we, it was all public documents, no PI, no confidential, no sensitive information. So we used ChatGPT's OpenAI's GPT-4 model. We fed the documents and extracted all the conditions from those PDF documents. And it was like, every condition from these 200 plus documents is in our system. We saved a lot of effort from manual effort. So this is a workflow because it was a backend thing. I don't have a demo for that. Okay. So the first, if you look at the existing certificates and new certificates, now staff doesn't manually go into the system and type it in. Instead of that, we just use the AI tool to get that into the system. And because it was kind of a legal thing, like conditions are like a really big thing within EAO. That's where every project has to adhere to the standards. So there is a manual review and approval process. We can't stay away from that. But the big part of extracting those conditions, we were able to automate using OpenAI's model. Now we have an LLM in Azure, so probably we will switch back to OpenAI to the LLM that we have hosted. This is the condition repository. It deserves a special mention because that gave us the confidence to move to more bigger stuffs. Now let's go into the interesting stuff. Search thing. Okay, I think, yeah. I have a small demo for the AI search. At the end, it's a search box, nothing much. We don't have an actual UI. This is for the demo. As developers, we hit the API and get the results back. But in prod, it's going to be a search box where citizens can go, type in their query, and get the output back. So a little bit of introduction here before I do the demo. Even when I joined, one of the biggest problem statements I heard from EAO is that it's very hard to find the information within EAO. I was like, why? Why is it very hard? The information is in 60K documents. I was like, if you find the right document, isn't it easy? Then that was the next challenge. How do you find the right document? For a project with an EAO, there are like 500 plus documents, I think. And first you had to know which document to look for. Then only you can open that document, and that document would be like 200 pages, more than 50 pages for sure. So it was really hard. You had to be a subject matter expert to find the results, or you had to call the senior guy in EAO, hey, where do I look for this information? How do I find it? It was very hard. It was taking everybody's time. Okay, and another thing is that you have to know exactly what you're searching for. You type it a different wording, you use a different terminology, it might not work. You call salmon, you search for a fish, and if the document has a salmon name, it might not work. So it was all challenging. Finding the information, that was the toughest thing with an EAO. That's when we thought, like, why don't we have a natural language semantic search implemented using AI and make it work? That's where this started. So this is a UI, minimal UI we just did for the demo. Okay, it's playing. Okay, so here, this one is a kind of a keyword search. It's clearly asked for a question, who is the proponent for this project? This can be done using without AI. But here, again, there are two things. One is like, it's a natural language search, though it doesn't look like that. The next search will be like purely natural language. So there are two parts which our AI solution has. One is like pointing to the right documents, then will answer you that query. First is like, out of these 500 documents, it's going to point you to the top, probably like 10 documents which has that information. Then it's like, it's going to answer you back. Okay. So that's what you're seeing here. The first one, it's a LLM answering you. Might not be like perfect because it scans through all the documents and it tries to group all the results together. But this one works pretty perfect because it was like a clear query. And the next one, this is kind of a cross-project query. I just have trouble stopping the video. It goes in loop. Sorry for that. So this one is pretty interesting because this is a natural language query. Within the data, if you look at that, you will never get something like which project have had major public opposition. Pretty tricky. This is where the power of natural language and everything comes into picture. Here, they go through all these documents, extract out the information, find out using the natural language which project had the biggest problems. Okay, and it's going to point to the right documents as well. This is like without referring back to the document doesn't make sense, right? You always need to go back to the documents to see the verified results are okay. That's what we are doing here. And the good thing is that in EAO, cross-project search was like always a nightmare. If you want to compare two projects and get the information, no way. You had to really look through the documents and compare. That's the problem that we solved here. You can compare with different projects and get the information. This is a funny one because sometimes we wanted to stop that. So this is from Andre's brain, and I will show you that. So we didn't want LLM to hallucinate. We scoped the limit to just to EAO. Yeah, I think that's a bit of a demo. Do I have more? Yeah. So this is another spatial searches, like biggest thing. I want to know what are the projects, EAO projects related near to my home, so that I can do an engagement on. I can comment on that. So this one, which projects are located near Kitimat, BC? Normally, no way. You can't find it. It's very hard. So that's one problem that we solved, location-based searches as well. So you can find close to your home what are the projects so that you can have your public opinion on that. This also works pretty cool. So all these three projects. This is not a full set of data within EAO. We just loaded three projects. Three projects was like, I think 500 documents or something like that. We had to load all the 60K documents. That's there. When we are in Azure, we are going to do that. This is just for the demo. Yeah, that's why it's answering only three, like Ajax mine is there. I think, yeah, a couple of projects are there. That's all the demo. Okay, let me go back. So a little bit of architectural. I don't want to go into the details, but like every AI pipeline, there are two parts. One is where you ingest the data, and we store the data into the database as vectors. Okay. The first part, we have the MongoDB and S3 as our source of the data. Then using some embedding models, we convert that into vector and we store into timescale database. This is the part which really needs a lot of attention because you want the data to be all right so that your search queries are up to the standards. Okay, so we put a lot of effort here chunking the results. We have to go through all these PDFs. It's like 60K documents and each project 500. So there'll be documents which doesn't really make sense at all. So we had to put a lot of effort here and choose the right embedding models. So at the end of this process, data processing, we have every information within this our timescale database. It's a vector database and it's good for the time sensitive queries. That's why we went for the timescale. But any vector database will work here. Okay, I don't want to go into much details, but if there are any queries, we can take that. Okay, this is the first data pre-processing side. Then this is the search part of the thing. Like first part, you prepare the data, you input, you get that into the database. It's all cool there. The next part, how do you process the search query? So when user enters something, you had to convert that again to vectors. That's what we are doing here. Using a model, using the same model, it's called, we are using nomic embedding model. We convert that into vector and we do some keyword searches as well. Because within EAO, not everything is of interest. There are like keywords like fish and habitat, air quality, like salmon. Those are the interesting keywords. Like searching for every information within this 60K documents, it's not practical. It's going to take a lot of time. Okay, or you need a lot of computing resource. That's where we thought like, why don't we have keywords identified? So when a user enters a query, what we're going to do is that we will extract out the relevant keywords, and by using that, we are going to make the search faster. That's where this keyword identification comes into picture. So using it's not a real LLM, but it's a small language model keyword. Using that, we extract the keywords and we process the query. And there is a Olama, that's the thing which is going to answer your query. Okay, there are, as I said, there are two parts: finding the right documents. Next one is answering the query in plain language. That's what we use the LLM for. As of now, we have hosted everything in Azure. Yeah, this is another slide just to talk about the whole process. We extract the document, we chunk it. Using an embedding model, we vectorize it, then we index and store it.